We'll continue our relishing of the activities of the witness deity, Shakshi Gopal, from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, Chapter 5. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Pajam Chalanya Pratima Sarupo Brahmanya Devo Hi Shataha Gamyam Desham Yayo Viprakited Bhuteham Tam Shakshi Gopala Maham Natosmi Pajam Chalam Ya Pratima Swarupo Brahmanya Devo Hi Shataha Gamyam Desham Yayo Viprakated Bhuteham Tam Shakshi Gopalam Aham Natosmi Pajam Chalam Ya Pratima Swarupo Brahmanya Devo Hi Shataha Gamyam Desham Yayo Viprakated Bhuteham Tam Sakshi Gopalam Aham Natosmi. Vaishnavis. Padbhyam, by the two legs. Chalan, walking. Ya, one who. Pratima, of the deity. Sarupa, in the form. Brahmanya Deva, the supreme lord of Brahminical culture. He certainly. Shata Aha, in 100 days. Gamyam, to be passed over. Desham, the country. Yaya, went. Viprakrite, for the benefit of the Brahmana. Adbhuta, most wonderful. Eham, activity, tam, unto that. Shakshi Gopalam, the Gopala known as the witness Gopala. Aham, I. Nata asmi, offer respectful obeisances. Translation, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of God, Brahmanya Deva, who appeared as Shakshi Gopala to benefit a Brahmana. For 100 days, he traveled through the country, walking on his own legs. Thus, his activities are wonderful. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We left off yesterday where the deity and the young, non-aristocratic, non-wealthy, non-educated Brahmana are having a dialogue. Just that in of itself is amazing. Of course, in the beginning stages of spiritual life, our focus on deity worship is all about punctuality and cleanliness. Nevertheless, Krishna is independent. That means the deity is also independent, and the deity can talk with whomever he wants. So in this case, you have two pure devotees. And as we'll discuss later, actually, both are Nitya Siddha. Both are eternal servants of the Lord. They're appearing in this world and they're acting like common persons. And this Leela of their interactions with the Shakshi Gopal deity we're getting rained on. The history of their interactions with the Shakshi Gopal deity provides you insight into how you're not dealing with stone. As we pointed out yesterday, we need to take stock of our attitude toward the deity. Are we just ritualistic, mechanical worshipers? I think I'm going to have to move. Hare Krishna. Okay. We pause for a rain adjustment. Have the mat, please. Okay, we're back in action. We need to take inventory of our attitude toward the deity. Why are we coming here to the temple and bowing down before a stone statue, reciting prayers? Are we ignorant? Are we some kind of tribals with forest notions? Or what's happening? So this incident and history of the two Brahmanas and their dealings with Shakshi Gopala give us pause. We have to think. What am I doing and why am I doing it? So as you recall, the younger Brahmana journeyed back to Vrindavan from South India to request Shakshi Gopala to come as a witness. And they're talking. And Gopala, the deity, says, "You want me to walk to South India to be your witness? I've never heard of a deity walking." The deity is saying this. And so we concluded yesterday with the Brahmana's reply, "That's true. No one's ever heard of a deity walking, but if you can talk, you can walk." So the Brahmana had this simple, very determined conviction. There was no doubt in his mind. He was 100% focused on the deity reality. And he told the deity, "You're not a statue." This is very important for us to remember when we come before the deity. Never mind what my mundane intelligence is telling me. I'm proceeding in my respect and attitude toward the deity. I'm proceeding based on the vision of the greatest acharyas, the greatest yogis, the greatest meditators, the pure devotees of the Lord who see the transcendental reality. And if I follow in their footsteps, I'll also be able to see the transcendental reality. Otherwise, what are we? Just a bunch of religious believers with icons and statues, sacred statues, works of art. Are we deluding ourselves? So this discussion between Shakshi Gopala and the young Brahmana, as recorded in Chaitanya Charitamrita, is very important. The young Brahmana is saying, "You're not a statue. You are Sakshat Brajendra Nandana, directly the son of Maharaja Nanda." Oh, how our hearts aspire for that kind of conviction and determination as we stand before the deity. You are not a statue. And why is the younger Brahmana doing all this? He's journeyed all the way back from South India to Vrindavan for the sake of the honor of the older Brahmana, to protect the religious principles, the dharma of the older Brahmana. Not, as we discussed yesterday, not for the sake of the younger Brahmana getting to marry the daughter of the older Brahmana. He's a pure devotee. He's not thinking of his own material happiness. He's simply thinking, this older Brahmana, the Vaishnav, has honor and I must protect it. I must protect his spiritual status, which is in jeopardy because he's not fulfilling his promise. A promise made before the deity, before Gopala himself. And we did discuss yesterday about the so-called honor of today, of the contemporary scene, in which you make promises and you break them. You make agreements and you break them because everyone understands. You promise, but that was last year, that was last week. Times change, people change. But this is not human life. Human life is regulated by dharma. So much so, and I know it sounds horrifying, but in Vedic culture, as the Shastra reveals, even if you make a promise and it turns out to be against your favor or against your benefit, you still keep your word. Doesn't that sound horrible? Sounds psychologically damaging, doesn't it? Of course, we're not talking about modern abuse cases. But there's something that we need to assimilate about the sanctity of promises, word of honor in real human civilization. And that's especially important when we look at our initiation vows. We can make so many excuses. Oh, I said those vows when I was young, or my situation has changed since then. My work life, my family life has all made it impossible for me to keep my initiation vows. The younger Brahmana is teaching us how, for a person who wants to spiritually advance, keeping vows is so important and a source of strength. So he's requesting, and Sri Gopalaji finally agrees. You see, remember, first Gopalaji said, all right, you go home to South India, think of me and I'll appear there, right? And the young Brahmana said, sorry, that's not enough. Even if you appear as four-handed Vishnu, no one will believe that you're witnessing. You've got to come as Shakshi Gopala. Then everyone will accept. So Sri Gopalaji then says, all right. And Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita notes that Sri Gopalaji is smiling. So here you've got talking, smiling, and next you're going to have to assimilate walking. What do you think? Is this all mythology? It's a different perception based on a different science, the science of bhakti. So Gopalaji says, here's what I'll do. I'll walk behind you, and in this way, I'll accompany you. So we're going to look at a purport, a very deep, yet so wonderfully presented, a purport by Srila Prabhupada, in which he explains the mystery of the deity looking like matter while actually being Sakshat Brajendanandana, directly the son of Maharaja Nanda Krishna. And this will help us. You see, tattva, the science of the Supreme, gives us the knowledge through which our senses can perceive. It's very important that we know tattva and lila together. The science of bhakti, the science of Bhagavan, as well as the pastimes, the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. Both go together. That's why everyone relishes the Krishna book so much, because it's tattva, the science, the philosophy, mixed with the pastimes. So we'll read the purport. And please hear very attentively, because this purport can revolutionize your whole deity darshan experience. The conversation between Lord Sri Krishna and the Brahmana is proof that the Lord in his archa murti, or form made of material elements, is not material. Because for those elements, although separated from the Lord, are also part of the Lord's energy, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Because the elements are the Lord's own energy, and because there's no difference between the energy and the energetic, the Lord can appear through any element, just as the sun can act through the sunshine and thus distribute its heat and light. So Krishna, by his inconceivable power, can appear in his original spiritual form in any material element, including stone, wood, paint, gold, silver, and jewels, because the material elements are all his energy. The Shastras warn, Arche Vishna Shila D Nadaki Sa. One should never think of the Archa Murti, the deity within the temple, as stone, wood, or any other material element. Because of his advanced devotional position, the younger Brahmana knew that although the deity of Gopala appeared to be stone, he was not stone. He was the son of Nanda Maharaj, Brajendra Nandana himself. As such, the deity could act exactly as the Lord does in his original form as Krishna. Lord Krishna was talking to the young Brahmana just to test his knowledge about the Archa Vigraha. In other words, those who have understood the science of Krishna, Krishna's name, form, qualities, and so forth, can also talk with the deity. To an ordinary person, however, the deity will appear to be made of stone, wood, or some other material. In the higher sense, since all material elements ultimately emanate from the supreme spiritual entity, nothing is really material. Being omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient, Krishna can deal with his devotee in any form without difficulty. By the mercy of the Lord, the devotee knows perfectly well about the Lord's dealings. Indeed, he can talk face to face with the Lord. This is a very deep purport, presenting inconceivable knowledge so clearly, so definitively for our understanding and for our experience. So, going back over it, the first thing we hear is that the conversation, which seemed like an ordinary chat between the Brahmana and the deity, is proof that the Archa Vigraha is not material. Why is that? Because all the energies in existence, even the material energy, is coming from Krishna. So what does that actually mean? That there's nothing outside of the jurisdiction of Krishna? Yes. But it also means that without Krishna, there is no energy. There are no energies. And that means there's no difference between the energy and the energetic. Because the material energy is Krishna's own energy. It looks material to us, but for Krishna, everything is spiritual. It looks material to us because we're disconnected from Krishna and we're seeing his energy as separate from him. Therefore, that energy to you looks like matter, devoid of spiritual connection. But for Krishna, it's all his energy. So that's why at the end of the purport, Prabhupada says, in the higher sense, nothing is material. But you can't artificially pretend that you're on that highest level and you see everything as spiritual. In Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna ask you to do? He asks you to see the difference between matter and spirit. So first you have to deal with that. And then when you're at the stage of following in the footsteps of Ramananda Roy in Chaitanya Charitamrita, wherever you look, you're seeing Radha and Krishna. You see something material, as Chaitanya Charitamrita explains later, a few chapters later. You see something material, but immediately you make the connection. This is Krishna's energy. And so immediately you see Krishna. This seems inconceivable, but you're dealing with the power of pure love. In the material world, they have that expression, love is blind. But in bhakti, love allows you to see. And without that pure love, that Shuddha Bhakti, you can't see. So this purport is actually very humiliating for us. First, we hear the proof. The conversation is proving that the deity is not material. And so we have the example to help us to understand. And you need to think about this. The sun has its energy, sunshine. Just by your saying sunshine, at least in English, you're connecting the energy with the energetic source. So the sun is actually acting through the via medium of the sunshine. Can you think about that? It's not ordinarily what we would think. The sun is acting through the sunshine to distribute its heat and light. We just think, oh, the sun is up there and the sunshine is here. We don't make the connection. But think about this example. It's to help us to understand this allegory or metaphor is not the ultimate proof in of itself. The ultimate proof is the Shastra, but these metaphors and allegories help us to understand. They bring us nearer. So you've got it now. The sun is acting through the sunshine, and in this way, the sun is distributing heat and light. Similarly, Krishna can appear through any material element. His energy, his, so to speak, his sun and light. He can appear in his original spiritual form in any material element because the material elements are all his energy. So it requires some thought and some deep pondering. Any material element, stone, wood, paint, gold, silver, jewels, in the mind. Krishna can do that because the material energy is all his energy. So please think about that. Achintya beta beta tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference. We often use the example of the cow and milk. Milk comes from the cow. Without the cow, milk has no existence. In that way, the milk is non-different from the cow. But if you boil the milk, are you boiling the cow? So in that way, the milk is different from the cow. But if you try to extend this example, this metaphor, to cover all of the transcendental reality, it doesn't work. Why? The cow cannot appear through its milk. But Krishna can appear through his energy. And there you have the deity, the mystery of the Archa Vigraha. Krishna is the same as his energy. The cow is the same as the milk, because without the cow, there's no milk. Without Krishna, there's no energy. But the cow cannot appear through the milk. But Krishna can appear through his energy. And as Prabhupada explains, as such, the deity could act exactly as the Lord does in his original form as Krishna. So this is the best way to understand the transcendental reality, by hearing. If you want to do some research while you're spending hours on social media, you can approach Guru Google and put in Shakshi Gopal. And there you'll see some photos of Shakshi Gopal. And you'll see he looks like he just walked in. Has anyone ever seen photos of Shakshi Gopal? Yes. Does he look like he just walked in? There are not many photos because access to the Shakshi Gopal deity in Cuttack, India is very restricted according to your caste and according to your birth. But besides that great misunderstanding, you can see a few photos. And if you study them, you'll see the deity looks like he just walked onto the altar. So we also hear in this purport that Krishna is testing the young Brahmana. Let's hear how much you know about the deity. How is it you're asking me to walk? And the Brahmana so beautifully answers, well, how is it that you're talking? So in this way, we have such unforgettable example of the full potential of the Archa Murti. So as you know, the deity says, all right, I'll come. I'll walk behind you, but don't turn around and try to see me. If you try to turn around during this journey all the way from Vrindavan to South India, if you try to turn around and see me, I'll stop right there. I won't go any further. But you'll know that I'm walking behind you by the sound of my ankle bells. Now, I wonder how many of you have thought about this. What would you have done in that situation? Could you have restrained yourself from looking over your shoulder for a trek from Vrindavan all the way to South India? Could you control your senses and not look over your? Well, I don't know. Maybe this is all just hallucination. Or maybe this is just all my imagination. Let me look. Right? That's what you do, right? But Shakshi Gopal has said, you know I'm walking behind you because of the sound of my ankle bells. Sound vibration. Even though you're not seeing, you're hearing. And the hearing is proof. Similarly, we put so much emphasis on wanting to see Krishna when actually we have opportunity to hear Krishna all the time. Hearing is actually more powerful than seeing. What happens? The example often given. What happens when you're asleep at night? You're not seeing anything, but the smoke alarm goes off, whether because you didn't change the batteries or whatever. You're dead asleep. That's a hint, by the way, for the safety of our devotees. You're dead asleep. You're not seeing anything, but through the ear, you're alerted. So similarly, the Hare Krishna mantra is giving you darshan of Krishna through the ear. But because of our Kali Yuga conditioning, we downplay sound vibration as being an inferior experience. So again, I wonder if you thought about it. What would you have done on a long walk? Maybe someone can figure out how many kilometers it is from Vrindavan down to Vijayanagar in South India. It may have a different name now. How many kilometers? And you would not look over your shoulder. You would just act on the words of the deity and hear the sound of the ankle bells. So this way we can go deeper into this whole history of Shakshi Gopala. And of course, the deity told him, besides listening for my ankle bells, every day feed me 1 kilo of rice, offer that, and I'll be walking behind you. So here you are, not only trusting the sound of the ankle bells, but you're offering 1 kilo of rice to the deity whom you can't look back and see. Just like when foodstuffs are offered to the deity here, Shri Radha Giridhari, you don't actually see the deity eating, do you? But you're trusting. And I've noticed in the prasad room, when it's time for prasad, there are no doubts. Does anyone actually, have you ever noticed anyone who leaves the bhakti path, the bhakti marg, during prasad? No, that's the proof in the tongue. They haven't seen Krishna eat. They haven't seen the deities eat. But they know there's something special about this food. They're tasting the difference. I wonder how many of you have had the experience of unintentionally receiving some food from someone, or you somehow or other you made a mental mistake and you put in your mouth something that's not offered. You can tell immediately. At least I can. What's that? Because there is an experiential difference. No one else has had that experience? Yes. You can immediately tell, wait a minute, this is off. So you're experiencing Krishna through the tongue. You haven't seen him eat. So the Brahmana is feeding every day on this long walk, feeding every day Shakshi Gopal a kilo of rice. And then, of course, they finally get to the hometown of the older Brahmana and the young Brahmana. And the young Brahmana judges that it's okay for me to look over my shoulder because right here at this spot is a suitable spot for the deity to stay. So he looks over his shoulder finally after this long journey. Anyone have any estimation, roughly, from Vrindavan to South India? 2,000 what? 2,000 kilometers. Okay, walking for 2,000 kilometers and you don't look over your shoulder once, you don't have any doubts. I don't know about, wait a minute now, I could be a fool. I'm going all the way 2,000 kilometers to the village and I could be making a fool of myself. I'm telling the villagers, here he is, and I look over my shoulder, no, he's not there. Oh no. It's like sometimes what neophyte devotees think. I'll be chanting Hare Krishna and following the regular principles for 5 whole years. Suppose it's all not true and I've missed out on the delicious activities of Kali Yuga. I'll miss out on all the good stuff pursuing some bhakti fantasy. Oh no. And of course your parents and family and friends are often telling you that, especially in the wild Western world. What are you doing? Why are you so worried about your next life? That's ruining your enjoyment of the present moment. That's the wild Western view. And of course, the materialistic Indian view is that it's nice to go to the temple Janmashtami once a year. Put some coins in the hundi. That's sufficient. Think of your career, your success. That is where all your efforts should be for yourself, and then you want to leave millions of dollars for your children. And that's what life is all about. So we can come up with many doubts. So just think of this young Brahmana traveling 2,000 kilometers without looking over his shoulder, just hearing the sound of the ankle bells. Of course, this young Brahmana is not ordinary, and neither is the older Brahmana. They're both Nitya Siddha devotees, eternally liberated souls. as Sakshi Gopala will say, both of you are my eternal servants. Because when Sakshi Gopala arrives, the villagers, of course, are all buzzing. It's true, the deity has come to witness. And the older Brahmana is so relieved. My word can be protected. So the older Brahmana goes and immediately offers his full prostrated obeisances to Sakshi Gopala. And then the marriage of the young Brahmana with the daughter of the older Brahmana can proceed. So this is not about the quest for material happiness, a marriage quest. This is about maintaining dharma. This was the overriding, in fact, the sole concern of a younger Brahmana. I don't want all this just for my marriage. I want to protect the dharma of the older Brahmana. I want to protect his spiritual integrity. So what would you say in the contemporary materialistic view? What's the big deal? So what? The older Brahmana didn't keep his word. It happens all the time. Circumstances change. Come on. Don't be fanatical, Prabhus. Right? We have no patience. Just like the young Brahmana's patience in walking 2,000 kilometers without looking over his shoulder. That seems impossible for us, right? We couldn't walk 10 kilometers without looking over. Wait a minute now. What are my parents and family and friends going to say? I got to look. This is our Kali Yuga situation. As Srimad Bhagavatam first canto says, Manda Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya Upadrutaha. Everyone in this age is slow about spiritual advancement, but very quick about material absorption. And their minds are always disturbed. And they have no idea where the disturbances come from. They try to put out the disturbance here, put out the anxiety there. They can't get to the root of it, no matter what they do. So this is most of the history of the Sakshi Gopala deity. There's a small addition to what we discussed at the end about the king and queen dealing with Sakshi Gopal. The queen wants to give her super expensive pearl in her nose. She wants to give that to the deity, but she's thinking the deity has no hole in his nose. I wish the deity had a hole in the nose. And then she has a dream at night that the deity is saying, I've got a hole. My mother put a hole in my nose when I was a child. So come put the pearl there. So she does. She wakes up in the morning and she and the king put that pearl from her nose onto the deity. But what is most astonishing in this history is, remember, who's narrating the history? Nityananda Prabhu. And Mahaprabhu and the devotees are hearing with great pleasure. And when Nityananda finishes narrating, another amazing thing happens. He and the devotees watch and see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sakshi Gopal assume the same form. A golden body dressed in saffron cloth with lotus eyes. Right before their eyes, the devotees are seeing this. And Nityananda is making jokes. You see in the word for word that Prabhupada has given us, Nityananda is actually joking. Do you see this? The devotees are all smiling. They see a huge form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Shakshi Gopala as the same. So this is one of the most intimate secrets of bhakti for the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayanya. Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna combined.